Namaskar, good evening. You are watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with News Tonight. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. Rescue efforts gather pace in Kerala as flood waters recede. State faces gigantic task of rehabilitation and prevention of outbreak of waterborne diseases. Commercial flights resume from Naval Airport at Kochi. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan appealed to MPs to contribute for the relief from MP Lads Fund in Kerala. Both donate a month's salary towards Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. Urge all MPs to do the same. Prime Minister Narendra Modi writes to Imran Khan hoping for peaceful engagement with Islamabad. Speaks of need to make Indian subcontinent free of terror and violence, invokes shared vision of bringing peace, security and prosperity in the region. The 11th World Hindi Conference in Mauritius concludes with resolution to get recognition for Hindi as a leading language of the world. Mauritius President backs India's effort to make it an official language of the United Nations. Intellectuals and academicians suggest ways to enrich the language. And Vinesh Phogat makes history in Asiad Games, wins India's first women's wrestling gold in 50 kilograms category. Silver medal for Lakshya Shioran in trap shooting and Deepak Kumar in the 10-meter air rifle events. India placed 8th in overall medals tally with 5 medals so far. The worst floods in Kerala in nearly a century have brought to fore the resilience of people in Kerala. Malayalis have come together to face this time acute crisis as one. Now, as the flood waters recede, the state is faced with a huge task of rebuilding lives. The state government estimates the initial loss to the state at nearly 20,000 crore rupees. Infrastructure will have to be built from almost the scratch. The massive floods in Kerala have been declared a calamity of severe nature by the centre. At least 216 people have lost their lives in the rains, floods and landslides since 8th of August. Over 10 lakh people are living in nearly 6,000 relief camps that are in operation.
Healthcare seems to be the biggest challenge looming on the horizon as the floodwaters recede in Kerala. Preventing an outbreak of epidemic is the need of the hour in the flood-hit state. Restoration of water and power supply has to happen at a war footing. Roads and bridges need to be rebuilt. Telephone lines need to become functional again.
BSNL land phone connection, internet connection, broadband, BSNL broadband connection cut 7 days through land phone number staff
The centre has also declared the Kerala floods a calamity of severe nature. When a calamity is declared to be of rare severity or severe nature, support to the state government is provided at the national level. The centre also considers additional assistance from the National Disaster Response Fund. A calamity relief fund is set up with the corpus shared 3:1 between the centre and the state. When resources in the CRF are inadequate, additional assistance is considered from the National Calamity Contingency Fund, funded 100% by the centre. Relief in repayment of loans or for grant of fresh loans to the persons affected on concessional terms too are considered once a calamity is declared severe.
We are running around 430 camps all over Kerala. Right now, as you can see, we are going with medical supplies to some 6 or 7 camps located in Kottayam, where people evacuated from Alapi and some parts of Changanur are stationed.
For this cause, we all decided to come together and help our brothers and sisters in need. for the calamity that is happening in Kerala. So whatever little bit that we can do, we've tried our level best.
With the waters receding, the focus is now on rehabilitation. The National Crisis Management Committee, the country's apex body to handle emergencies, has been regularly monitoring the flood situation in Kerala. The NCMC has directed that focus should now be on the provision of emergency supplies of food, water, medicines and restoration of essential services. The Army, Navy, Indian Air Force and the National Disaster Response Force have been continuously engaged in relief and rescue operations in all 14 flood-hit districts in Kerala. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan addressed his daily press conference a short while ago, where he spoke about the rehabilitation efforts being mounted. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
വെള്ളം ഇറങ്ങിയിട്ടും ക്യാമ്പുകളിൽ തന്നെ തുടരേണ്ട സ്ഥിതി ചില കുടുംബങ്ങൾക്ക് വരുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ പുനരധിവാസ പ്രവർത്തനം തീവ്രമായി നടത്തേണ്ടതിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യകതയാണ് ഇത് കാണിക്കുന്നത്. വെള്ളം ഇറങ്ങിയതുകൊണ്ട് മാത്രം വീടുകൾ വാസയോഗ്യമാവില്ല. അപ്പോൾ വാസയോഗ്യമാക്കുന്ന പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ദ്രുതഗതിയിൽ നടത്താനാണ് നിശ്ചയിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ അതുവരെ ഈ ദുരിതാശ്വാസ ക്യാമ്പുകൾ തുടരേണ്ടതായിട്ട് വരും. വൈദ്യുതി ബന്ധം എല്ലായിടെയും തകരാറായിട്ടുണ്ടാകും. ഉപകരണങ്ങൾ ഉള്ളത് കേടായിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ഇനിയുള്ള ഉപകരണം പ്രവർത്തിപ്പിക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്ത അവസ്ഥയിൽ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാകും. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിൽ നല്ല ജാഗ്രത പൊതുവെ കാണിക്കേണ്ടതായിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Since the last few days, Kerala has been facing one of the century's worst floods. Remember, the rescue teams have mounted efforts, and the massive floods in Kerala has been declared a national calamity of a severe nature by the Home Ministry. At least 216 people have lost their lives in the rains, floods and landslides since 8th of August. Now, the rebuilding the life is a big challenge for the people after this deluge. NDRF has been consistently working round the clock in full swing. Now, with the water receding in the deluged Kerala, the centre has directed the government departments and the forces to focus on ensuring emergency supplies of food, water, medicines, restoration of essential services such as power, fuel, telecom, transport links, and also the commercial flight operations from the naval airport at Kochi has commenced. Now, healthcare seems to be the biggest challenge looming on the horizon as the floodwaters are receding in Kerala. Preventing an outbreak of epidemic is the need of the hour in the flood-hit state. Remember, the massive flood in Kerala is one of the worst in the century. It has been declared as a calamity of severe nature. 216 people have lost their lives. And now the biggest challenge for the government is bringing the life back on track for the people. The prevention of epidemic is something which the government has to ensure. To prevent the outbreak of epidemic is something which the government has to ensure. NDRF is working round the clock to ensure that the operations of relief and rescue are in full swing. The centre has directed the government department to focus on the emergency supplies of food, water, medicine, restoration of essential services like power, fuel, telecom. The centre also considers additional assistance from the National Disaster Response Fund. Remember, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan have appealed to MPs to contribute for relief fund from MP lads in Kerala. Both the Chairman and the Speaker have donated a month's salary towards Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, and they have also urged MPs to do the same. Rescue efforts are gathering pace in Kerala as the flood waters are receding. Now, the state faces a gigantic task of rehabilitation and prevention of outbreak of waterborne diseases. Meanwhile, in neighbouring Karnataka, the rescue operations in the flood-ravaged Kodagu district were intensified on Monday. Several hillocks in Kodagu have caved in and several villages have been wiped out due to landslides. Over 3,500 people have been rescued and 6 people have lost their lives in floods and landslides. Nearly 1,000 personnel from the armed forces, NDRF and other agencies are involved in the ongoing rescue operations. The state government has set up nearly 41 relief camps. And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
On this edition of India's World, we will take a closer look at the internal problems of Afghanistan and what it means for the region and the world.
So the weakness of the Afghan state is allowing, and the paralysis of governance, factional fighting, infighting, is what is creating the space for ISIS or for newer groups to keep on coming up and continuing this war endlessly.
In this manner, incrementally, the process will continue till the elections. There will be violence. Taliban, to make their presence felt, will have occasional suicide bombings, attacks on voting registration centers, etc. But at the same time, they are not totally rejecting the peace feelers.
If at some time in the future there will be peace in Afghanistan or something resembling peace and not the kind of situation we have now, it is that goodwill that we will depend upon for whatever we want to do in the region.
What is the real scale of destruction?
Kerala is devastated. 12 out of 14 districts are very badly affected. Kerala needs to be completely reconstructed.
There is no need for declaring the present disaster as a natural calamity.
We are provided such dramatically effective, machinery. Politics by some unemployed people who should be actually taking part in the relief activities and not wasting time on this kind of thing.
As a nation, what are the learning lessons we need to learn from this particular floods?
Couple of things. We got to be very, very careful about environment. We need to improve our met predictions.
Watch an exclusive interview with Union Minister KJ Alphonse on the Kerala flood fury only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan have jointly appealed to the members of the Parliament on Monday to contribute generously from their MP Local Area Development Scheme Fund for the relief and rehabilitation works in Kerala. Both Chairman and Speaker have decided to donate 1 month's salary towards Prime Minister's National Relief Fund and urge the other members to do the same.
Taking note of the large-scale devastation triggered by floods in Kerala, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu and Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan jointly appealed to members of Parliament to contribute generously from their MP Lads Fund towards relief and rehabilitation works in the state.
Keeping in view the intensity and magnitude of the floods in Kerala, the government has declared this as a calamity of a severe nature. We appeal to the members of the Parliament to contribute generously from their MP Lads funds for relief and rehabilitation works in the affected areas of Kerala as permissible under the MP Lads guidelines, and also to consider donating their 1 month's salary for this noble and humanitarian cause. Speaker and then Chairman.
Rules allow members of Parliament to recommend up to maximum of 1 crore rupees as assistance from the MP Lads Fund in the case of calamity of severe nature in any part of the country. They further say from the day an MP makes such a contribution, the relevant authorities have to identify relief works in a month's time and implement them within 8 months.
And then the Speaker will be writing a letter to all the members of Parliament of Lok Sabha. Chairman will be writing a letter to all the members of Rajya Sabha.
At Chairman Naidu's behest, the Rajya Sabha Secretariat on 16th August wrote to the Ministry of Home Affairs about the government's assessment of the scale of calamity in Kerala. Earlier, the chairman also discussed with the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha Harivansh, who's also the chairman of the MP Lads Committee, and senior officials on the MP Lads guidelines. He also spoke to former Deputy Chairman Professor P.J. Kurin about the severity of the damage. Chairman Naidu has decided to donate 1 month's salary towards relief work in flood-hit Kerala. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And to understand what exactly is transpiring in Kerala at the moment, we'll go across to K.K. Shailaja, Minister for Health and Social Justice from the government of Kerala, who is joining us from Trivandrum. Ma'am, thank you so much for speaking to Rajya Sabha TV. Now, with the water receding in Kerala, what are the challenges which the government is facing in the relief and rescue operations?
Hello.
Ma'am, I'll repeat my questions. Now, with the water receding in Kerala, what are the challenges which the government is facing in the relief and rescue operations?
When the water receded, we think that we should have to face the other problems that epidemic will occur, infectious disease will occur, and now we are trying to tackle that problem. And other things are also there. All the facilities are broken. The roads are destroyed and the electric lines are destroyed. We have to restore all these things as urgently as possible. Now a mission is going on to restore everything, and the health department is trying our best to tackle the problem of the epidemic, and they are expecting that. And we have already formed decided a project for 30 days, micro planning we did, and in that first thing is to prevent the waterborne disease, and we have to chlorinate all the water sources because almost all the water sources become contaminated by the flood, and also the airborne and the vector-borne disease will occur this time. H1N1 and fever, viral fever may occur in these relief camps and also in houses. And this waterborne disease like leptospirosis will occur, and we are giving doxycycline tablets to people who are in contact with the dirty water. And also we decided to have this host reduction properly. And for airborne disease also, we are trying to prevent these things. And the immunization should start this time. And we already opened a call center and a separate cell for reporting all kinds of diseases, and to kept in contact with the district headquarters. And we insist our health workers to report if any epidemic occur or if any infectious disease occur. They should report to the state center and also to the district centers, and we can act properly within no time. And we already have made every setup, and as a mission, we are doing these things for next 30 days. We are getting support from outside Kerala also. Several states are helping us. WHO is helping us. And Union Minister called and he assured all support to us. And with all these supports, our health ministry is getting ready to tackle this problem after the recession of flood.
Ma'am, with such a large-scale, huge-scale deluge which Kerala is facing, now bringing life back on track is a big challenge for the government, the rehabilitation work. What steps are the government undertaking on that front?
Yeah, for the rehabilitation is a very difficult task actually, but we have to do that, and CM announced the separate scheme for rehabilitation for that, and all the departments together are dealing with this. We have to send the people to their homes from the relief camps, but most of the houses are ruined totally, If the houses are ruined totally, we have to give them separate places for rehabilitation. And if we can clean the houses and rehabilitate there, we can do that. And it is a several pronged things. We have to do several phased things. And with the support of each and every department, CM is doing the rehabilitation process properly.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us and giving us a wider perspective from Kerala. Now, moving on to some other developments, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday described late Atal Bihari Vajpayee as a person who neither buckled under pressure nor lost hope despite the odds. Addressing an all-party prayer meeting organized in the memory of Vajpayee at Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi said that Vajpayee's life was dedicated for the people of the country. Along with the Prime Minister, Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harivansh, BJP President Amit Shah, RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat, Senior BJP Leader LK Advani, Congress Leader Ghulam Nabi Azad and several union ministers and opposition leaders were also present.
वे अटके नहीं, रुके नहीं, और जो कोई साथ नहीं चलने को तैयार था, देश की राजनीति में एक बहुत बड़ा बदलाव आया और भारत जैसे लोकतंत्र में रीजनल एस्पिरेशंस को ऑनर करते हुए सबको साथ लेकर के चलने की प्रक्रिया को प्रारंभ हुआ और आज देश उन दो दिशा में लोकतंत्र को मजबूत बना रहा है, जहां कुछ दल एक जगह पर इकट्ठे हुए हैं, कुछ दल दूसरी जगह पर इकट्ठे हुए हैं, लेकिन इसको सफलतापूर्वक पार करने का काम वाजपेयी जी के दीर्घ दृष्टि के कारण हुआ था।
अटल जी ने जो कुछ हमको सिखाया, जो कुछ हमको दिया, उसको ग्रहण करके हम अपना जीवन बिताएं। जितनी मात्रा में हम ये कर सकेंगे उतना हम एक प्रकार से जो संस्कार हमने राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ से पाए हैं, वो हमने उन संस्कारों को हमने कार्यान्वित किया, ये हमको मन में संतोष होगा।
उनके विचारों के रूप में, उनके जीवन के इन किस्सों के रूप में और उसमें से मिलने वाले अच्छे आदमी के व्यवहार के पाठों के रूप में वो पहले भी थे, आज भी है और सदा के लिए रहेंगे, क्योंकि ऐसे लोगों से ही मेरा भारत महान बनेगा। इस बात को हम समझे।
सारा देश ही नहीं बल्कि वह एक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हस्ती थे। जो लोग भी उनके व्यक्तित्व से परिचित हैं, सबको पीड़ा हुई है, सबको वेदना हुई है।
अपनी पार्टी से हटकर अगर हमने किसी का भाषण सुना है तो वो अटल जी का भाषण सुनने के लिए आते थे। एक उनका अंदाज था अलग, उनकी शैली, उनकी बात करने का तरीका, अंदाज अलग था, शब्द अलग थे।
हम सबको भी इस बात का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि राष्ट्र का हित सबसे ऊपर होता है, पार्टी का हित उसके बाद होता है और व्यक्ति का हित सबसे नीचे होता है। और उन्होंने राष्ट्र हित को हमेशा ऊपर रखा।
काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूं, गीत नया गाता हूं, गीत नया गाता हूं। अटल जी ऐसे थे, काल के कपाल पर नया गीत लिखने वाले। ऐसे व्यक्ति भौतिक रूप से गए हो पर वे हमेशा हमारे बीच रहेंगे। हमारी विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि।
अटल जी बहुमुखी प्रतिभा के धनी थे। एक अजातशत्रु राजनेता होने के साथ साथ हिंदी साहित्य के बहुत बड़े साहित्यकारों में शुमार हो पाए, इस तरह के संवेदनशील कवि थे। स्वभावगत पत्रकार, एक प्रखर वक्ता, देशभक्त राजनेता, जागरूक सांसद और पार्टी को कभी
अपने सिद्धांतों से इधर उधर न होने देने वाला पार्टी का नेता था।
The 11th World Hindi Conference concluded in Mauritius on Monday with the determination of establishing Hindi as a global language, as well as establishing Hindi as an official language of the United Nations. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj also gave overseas citizens of India cards to Indians living in Mauritius.
The 11th World Hindi Conference in Mauritius concluded on Monday with the resolve to get recognition for Hindi as a leading language of the world and establishing it as an official language of the United Nations. Acting President of Mauritius, Paramashivam Pillai Vyapuri, was the chief guest at the closing ceremony. Addressing the audience, he said, as a language, Hindi is getting stronger.
So, it stands to reason to claim that Hindi should be introduced as an official language at the United Nations. This conference has shown that the desire and the will to make this happen is very real and strong. Therefore, far from Hindi disappearing like the dodo, it will not only survive, but it will find its rightful place as the 7th official language at the United Nations.
Anirudh Jagannath, former Prime Minister of Mauritius, called Hindi the soul of Indian culture, stating that Hindi has played an important role in the social, economic and political development of Mauritius. He said the World Hindi Conference had deepened the relations between India and Mauritius.
अन्य भाषाओं की तरह अब समय आ गया है कि हिंदी को भी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच पर अपना बराबर स्थान मिले। इसके लिए मॉरिशस प्रतिबद्ध है।
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj gave overseas citizens of India cards to Indians living in Mauritius. She said Mauritius is the first country among the list of Girmitia countries being provided this facility.
चलिए मॉरिशस से नई शुरुआत करते हैं और पीढ़ियों का मामला ही हटा देते हैं और जो भी पीढ़ी हो 5वीं 6वीं 7वीं अगर उनके पुरखे भारत के थे तो अगर वो परदादा थे या उसके बड़े और परदादा थे वो 4थी पीढ़ी 5वीं पीढ़ी 6ठी पीढ़ी हो लेकिन उनको OCI कार्ड देना चाहिए। तो सभी गिरमिटिया देशों में मॉरिशस पहला है जिसको ये सुविधा प्रदान की जा रही है।
The 3-day event witnessed brainstorming sessions by 2,000 Hindi scholars who expressed satisfaction over the worldwide journey of the language. With input from Arvind Kumar Singh in Mauritius, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has sent a letter to his newly elected Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan conveying that India was looking for a constructive and meaningful engagement with the border nation. In his letter, Prime Minister noted that India was committed to peaceful neighbourly ties with Pakistan for the benefit of the people of the region. The Prime Minister also stressed the need to work for a terror-free South Asia. Khan was sworn in as Pakistan's 22nd Prime Minister on Friday. And Pakistan's new Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has extended the hand of friendship to India soon after taking oath by offering uninterrupted dialogue to resolve all the outstanding issues. And now all the news from the Asian Games. On the second day of the Asian Games, Indian women wrestler Vinesh Phogat created history by becoming the first Indian woman wrestler to win a gold medal at the Asian Games. Vinesh defeated her Japanese rival Yuki Airi 6-2 in the final of the 50 kilograms weight category. In hockey, India beat host Indonesia 17-0 in their opening game, which also was the one of the biggest win for the men in blue in terms of score. For India, Simranjeet Singh and Mandeep Singh scored hat-trick to help India seal the victory with a huge margin. While in the shooting, Deepak Kumar and Lakshya Shioran clinched silver in the men's 10 meters air rifle and men's trap event, respectively. Lakshya shot 43 to win the silver medal, while Taiwan's Kunpi Yang shot 48 to clinch the gold and equal the world record. South Korean Daemyong Ahn took the bronze with 30. And that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. For more news and updates, keep watching Rajya Sabha television.